Hey guys, so with this video we are going to be going over the live paint bucket tool, the blob brush, and the puppet warp. And we're also going to talk about missing fonts a little bit. So let's go ahead and download this file, this AI file here out of Brightspace, labeled appropriately with the tools there, blob brush, live paint bucket, and puppet warp. Should automatically download and open, hopefully, especially if you have a Mac. So as you can see, we're missing fonts immediately off the bat, so there is a problem with this file. And this is what it looks like when your file is missing fonts and somebody else goes to open this and they're like, oh, I don't have this font installed on my computer. But it does luckily tell you the name of the font, so it's called Roadstore. So you'd have to actually, ask yourself, how am I going to fix this problem? Well, one thing you could do is we could go online and Google Roadstore font and see if we could download it. Sometimes we have free fonts that we can find. So, I mean, if you have somebody that shares something with you, like another designer that shares a file and you're missing the font, I mean, you could just go ahead and Google the font and see if you can download it yourself. Or you probably should you could email the person that sent you the file and say, hey, I'm missing the font. Can you outline the font and then send it? Or either just send me the font so I can download it and install it. So let's see, Roadstore font free. Hopefully it's a free. So actually there is a free Roadstore font from dafont.com. This is actually, dafont.com is a kind of an older font site, but it is legitimate. One thing about these font sites that can be a little tricky that you have to be aware of is that they are ripe with viruses, and a lot of times there's fake font sites. So some of them are not legitimate. So if you have any question as to whether or not the site that you're on, that you're going to download files from, possible viruses too, if you're not careful, you should go online and Google the top font sites. And get a list of the top font sites, and then just make sure that the font site that you're looking at is on that list. And that way you know you're using a legitimate site. I know for a fact dafont is good, so I'm going to go ahead and push download. And now in my downloads folder, I have the Roadstore font. So let's go ahead and open up that file that we just downloaded. So there's the OTF file and the TTF file. So these are font files, OTF or TTF. I can't remember what they stand for, but they are font. So we can actually double click on those on a Mac and install the font. And you can see font book opens up. Now it's in there. Sometimes I just do both files, the OTF and the TTF. I don't know if it really matters, but it doesn't seem to affect much. So we can close this now, and as you can see, our problem is now fixed. If yours did not automatically update, you can always close the file that, this demo file, just close it. Don't save it, just close it and then reopen, and it should replace your fonts. Mine just automatically did that. I'm guessing yours will too, but if it doesn't, just close the file and reopen it, and you should actually see the font then. Okay, so if you zoom in on the font, you can actually, let's open up the layers panel here. And we can see the text layer. So we can go through and select each one of these. They're kind of hard to select because they're all stacked on top of each other. One thing you can do is you can hold down Command on your keyboard and you can click through the different layers of text. So you can see where my cursor is moving now. It's also going on the background layer. So let's actually look at the layers here so we can just, understand them a little bit better. But we have a background layer, which basically if we toggle that eyeball off, you can see that it is the background color, and then on this artboard it's actually the sketch that we brought in. So let's go ahead and lock that layer. That's how we lock layers. If we want to unlock it, we can, but let's go ahead and lock it. We also have the flowers here, we have the skull, and we have the text. So one thing with the text, if we want to avoid problems in the future, we need to outline our fonts. So we have, as you can see, there are groups of text here. Some of them actually are outlined, a couple of them aren't. This one looks like it is actually outlined into shapes. I might have done that in a previous video. Yours might not be. So just go ahead and if you push Command down and click, you can actually click through the different font layers. You're probably going to have 4 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 stacked on top of each other to make this effect. So yeah, if you want to get to those, just remember to push Command down on your keyboard, and you can actually kind of go through, and you can see the little blue thing is actually moving through the two layers that aren't outlined yet. So if I control click, I can create outlines, and it does turn into a group after I do that with a drop down with each individual letter and whatnot. But this one still isn't outlined, so if I control or command click through here, so I can get on that particular one and then just do a control click, which is a right click on a Windows, and then push create outline. So just make sure you get all of those 4 layers outlined. You can tell when they're outlined when they have this little drop down arrow. And so when we outline our fonts, when we share this file with another designer, we're not going to have issues with the font dropping out, being missing, any of those things. This is already outlined, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's move on to artboard number 2. This is really the main thing with this demo that we're really wanting to go through. So we're actually going to use the Blob brush tool and the live paint bucket tool together, kind of like drawing tools and coloring tools that are going to come in handy for you, honestly. So let's click and hold down on the paintbrush, and let's go to the Blob brush. If we double click on this, we can get the tool options, very much like the pencil and the brush tool. And so we can make it really smooth, we can make it more accurate, you know, that's the fidelity. We can have the keep selected, merge only with selection, selected, but I don't have either right now. It seems to work pretty well without that. And I'm just going to, you can change the size right here, but we're going to leave it at 1. The angle's fine at 0, but you can change that if you ever want to. Roundness can be 100%. I'm not quite sure exactly, you know, if you have a Wacom, maybe the pressure would be interesting to use, because then the size would be fluid, depending on how much pressure you're putting on, which would be kind of cool. I haven't tried too many of these, but let's just leave it on fixed for now, and let's push OK. So what we're going to do first is we're actually going to create the skull shape. So we're just going to jump right in and start outlining, you know, holding down. I'm just going to, you know, try to create some shapes here, going through. And as you can see, it's smooth, but not super smooth. So I'm just going to roughly follow this. Doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes I'll let up and I'll start again, but hopefully close to the area that I let up at on my Blob brush tool. And I'm just going to kind of roughly, it's not going to be perfect. This doesn't have to be perfect. You know, in real life, we'd probably be taking our time. If you have an iPad, you know, and a stylus, that would be great. Sometimes if you have a trackpad, you can use one of those special pens on your trackpad, which actually works kind of like a semi Wacom tablet or Wacom. I'm not quite sure what they're called. But so now we have a shape here. Let's actually go into the layers panel and look. Did we put this in with the text? We did. So we put this in the wrong layer. So let's go to the black arrow tool, click, drag, and then now we have all of the lines selected that we made with the Blob brush. And you can see there's a little dot that indicates the selected art, and let's just grab that and move it into the skull layer, and it'll turn green, which is the skull layer color. You can see the skull layer, the colors here. So all artwork when selected will become that color now, because we're in the skull layer. We do have, you know, separate sections, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and turn off the background just so we can see what we have here. It's definitely very rough, but you get the idea here. So if we click and hold and down and then drag and then let up, we can get everything selected at one time, and then we can go to the paint bucket tool. So the live paint bucket tool is pretty cool. We can actually double click on it. Actually, so if you can't find a tool, you can actually go into help. I know where it is. It's actually underneath the live paint selection tool, underneath the width tool. It's right here. You click and hold down. It's under the shape builder tool. Live paint bucket tools right here. But if you can't find a tool, just look in the help menu. As long as you know what it's called, you just search for it, push enter. You can say get help. This will actually show you where it's at. So it'll highlight in blue, and it'll tell you where it's at. You can also get like different like little help things with it on that particular tool. So let's click and hold down on the shape builder and go to live paint bucket. I just wanted to show you the help menu because it is, you know, sometimes you just don't remember where stuff is, so it's not a big deal. Just look and help. So if we click and make sure we have this selected with the black arrow tool, we can go to the live paint bucket tool and we can change our color over here. Maybe I want to make my fill color like this kind of gold color, and then I want to get back on my live paint bucket tool, and you can see there it is. If you want to go rotate through your swatches, you can use your arrow tool, which is a faster way of getting to the colors that you're wanting. So I'm actually using my keyboard here, finding different colors that I'm looking for here. So if you make a paint group in your swatches, it's going to be faster for you to you know, roll through your different colors that you're wanting to use. So, you know, you can use the arrow tools if you want. You can also just come over here and select the colors that you're looking for. I'm just doing random colors, doesn't matter, you can do the same. Go ahead and find colors that you like, that you think work. You don't have to spend a long time on it, but definitely fill in your shapes. Show me that you use the live paint bucket tool. Also, one thing about the live paint bucket tool, we can click and hold down. Let's get the ellipse. Let's drag out maybe 3 different ellipses. If you push shift, you get that perfect circle. These ones I didn't push shift on, but this one I did. You can see the difference. So let's actually change the colors on these so we can kind of see. So if you stack these over each other, I'm going to change the color on this one. So let's just make sure all the colors are a little bit different. We click and select all of these. We can actually grab the live paint bucket tool, and we can actually color those selections where they're overlapping different colors really fast. So go ahead and do that. You know, make 3 circles, overlap them, use the paint bucket tool to select the areas that of the overlap and make those a different color, just to show me that you understand that the overlap of shapes can be colored with a live paint bucket as well. Sorry, I'm kind of blowing through this, but I'm trying to get under 15 minutes here. So that is basically the Blob brush tool in a nutshell. Very easy to use. We can actually turn on the background, and we can make, you know, some of these, if we zoom in, we can make like this leaf here. I'm not going to do a very good job, but you guys go ahead and kind of make a leaf, and let's select that, and let's grab our live paint bucket tool, and I'm going to grab this red, fill that in, grab this orange and fill that in. So go ahead and make a leaf. That's probably enough there. The same thing can be done with the stem, and actually what I did here, I made this all with the Blob brush and live paint bucket tool. It has a very organic feel to it. It was pretty easy to execute. It might be a little fine in places for embroidery, but it actually, I saw it embroidered and it did look quite nice. This was actually an image trace from an icon that I found online, and I did customize it a little bit. I filled in and simplified it a little bit for the embroidery, because this is a t-shirt embroider. She wanted this embroidered on a t-shirt. But okay, so next we can actually use the puppet work tool. So let's grab this style events here, Command C or Control C on a PC or Windows machine, Command V or Control V on a Windows. So let's bring that over into the second artboard, and let's go ahead and turn this background off because it's kind of annoying. And the puppet work tool is underneath the free transform tool. If you need to search for it in the help menu, that's fine. Also, one thing about some of the tools is some of the tools have more help than others. So this one actually has, like, you can click on these and get more of an in-depth tutorial on it. But we'll just go to the puppet warp, and you can actually see there's kind of these predetermined dots that come on there. If I don't want that dot, I can click on it and push delete. If I want to add dots, you can see there's a plus sign on it. Click on that, and then I can use that. So we can actually kind of stylize our text with this really easily. And we can rotate, we can spin it. You know, if you go too far, obviously it becomes illegible. You can't read it anymore. So, you know, don't go too crazy. And we can always do a Command Z if we go too far with something. But like I said, if you want to move anything around or rotate, you can do that. It's actually really fun to play with. So, and that actually makes it a little bit funner. That I might have gone a little too far with some of it because it's not as legible, but go ahead and play with the Puppet Warp tool on the style events and turn this in as an AI file when you're done, and that should be good for your grade. Talk to you later.